Thank you, Reciprocity, for this opportunity. We've been talking of sports, and like Aman, I'll also like to plug up, sort of leave out of the sporting arena, not though out of soccer, which is far fancied, but out of a sport which is steeplechase race. Uh, you know, uh, there's a lot of similarity between a business arena and a sports arena. We all play to win. We all use our resources. We all, and also, as you can see in a typical steeplechase, there are a lot of hurdles to cross. But if there are hurdles, there are also opportunities to look up to. So while discharging my responsibility and the opportunity that I've got as a consultant or mentor, there are times when I play alongside with the teams, and that happens more than often. There are situations when I'm absolutely on the front, play for the teams, which is typical front end roles. But there are also opportunities and scenarios wherein I, on the sidelines, sidestep out of the pitch, just watch, note, understand, and help in course correction. All these three role plays, are played in certain conjunction in a manner and mode wherein the effectiveness is very, very high. Essentially, it's about looking at a combination of creating energies and creating synergies, and we're essentially playing to win. Over these last 30 odd years, I've had amassed certain virtues which are helping me today while discharging my role as a consultant. I've had wide exposure in areas such as retailing, brand licensing, exports, training and development, brand management, even marketing, business networking, corporate communication. Now, all of this put together in a certain mode and a certain framework helps me in goal setting and strategizing the business for my clients. Uh, and that's how I derive a lot of energy. Uh, as a snapshot, I've put in about 30 plus years in the trade. Essentially, looking at footwear, fashion, and accessories. My consulting journey started in mid of 2012. So it's been 10 plus years now. As far as the domains are concerned, vision and goal setting, creates a wonderful platform for a conversation with the client, prospective clients, and existing client when it comes to the ongoing businesses. Strategy, sales, marketing, and something which has been very, very dear to me in the recent years has been talent nurturing and team building. It's hard to find good talent. It's hard to nurture, but that's where I put a lot of energies. At times, it's just not hiring; it's also firing. Also, just initially as part of the business. In terms of the engagement models, uh, I have clients who've been with me for last about 8 to 10 years at a stretch. I also then work with clients who would like to work for a limited period, which is a typical BOT arrangement, which is built of rate transfer. These arrangements typically last from 18 to 24 months. Once the objectives are fulfilled, we happily part, but remain friends for a longer duration of time. There's an hour-based contract also, which is far and few. But regular long-term clients is what gives me a lot of energy. I am able to create a lot of synergy because then I'm able to, set up a horizon for those clients right from incubation to domination, which means setting up the complete roadmaps, identifying the milestones, helping the clients to achieve those milestones. So all of this put together then becomes, creates a very, very sort of a huge, wholesome kind of impact as far as the business operations goes. Now, why would a client hire me, or why would I be able to successfully work with a client? Uh, so, be it a new client or existing client, there are two very key avenues to look up to. One is that is the client or a prospective client having any pain points, and can those be addressed? Secondly, while the client may be in a position to identify a growth avenue, the path may not be clear. Or for a new client, it's important to then maybe make them realize of the growth avenues. And all this happens on the basis of certain experiential learning, creating trust and confidence. Essentially, it's all about then joining the dots. My role play then takes a lot of energy, out of finding solutions for these pain points and identifying the growth avenues. Eventually, it's all about convergence. Uh, I go by this operating mantra, which is SEA, which is C, speed, efficiency, and accuracy. While we all know the essence and the importance of speed and accuracy in the business, I focus big time on efficiency. Uh, it's like this that the resources are not infinite, the capital is not infinite, even the manpower could not be an infinite resource for that matter. In our kind of business, wherein the investments are very heavy in stocks and inventory, it's very important that we optimize the inventories all the way, ensure that the inventories are very well scaled up. We peak at the right time. In our business, we also do a lot of pre-booking with some of the very serious and the bigger brands. Overbooking, underbooking, overstocking, understocking, not having the right inventory itself. can kill the business in no time. So for me, it's very important that this entire mantra of efficiency is digged day in, day out, so the all operations work in tandem. Uh, as I go along with all my clients, I work closely on the resource alignment, get them tie-ups. Uh, there's a very, very important, significant role when it comes to RCA, which is root cause analysis. There are problems which need to be resolved, and the best way to do that is by having happy engagements and deliberations. Most of these solutions come from these deliberations, which happen with the clients and the client teams. For me, it's important that I involve the entire rank and file, and that's where the resolution comes in also. Since I'm not a techie, there are issues and situations at times which also require, a certain enablement, wherein I look at external resource also, just to make sure that the tech-based sort of enablement in terms of generating high business doesn't take a beating. The relevance in terms of this consulting and mentoring environment gains a lot of momentum from identifying rigorously and regularly identifying profitable businesses. So this essentially means that a client could look in terms of diversification by looking at more brands, maybe handling getting onto the new verticals, or perhaps creating new categories, or maybe getting into new business altogether. So helping the clients to maintain and make them run, sort of garner profits, and helping them to understand new opportunities in the market is something that galvanizes my work play and my role play with all the clients that I typically work with. Uh, hashtag growth mindset. Now that set me up thinking, 10 years back when I jumped into the consulting arena, and that's also something that gets imbibed, between all the clients and the client teams as I move along with them. Uh, resources now. Uh, the existing clients could get very overwhelmed, or the new clients for that matter, if I was to come back and tell them that you need to sort of look at resources. This is my recommendation. I inherently believe in the potential of the people already there in the system. So rather than turning the system topsy-turvy, I identify the resources within the organization, the strength that they have, uh, sort of help them, maybe if required, jumble the role play, but then make the work in a manner which is very, very cohesive. And during that process, I just not look at the top line, the front end teams, but I work very closely with the mid end teams also, and also with all the other functional heads, because at the end of the day, success is derived out of the collective, sort of coming together of all the players in the ecosystem. Uh, since I believe that there's no need to reinvent the wheel every now and then, and efficiency is what typically comes also from the three Ps, including SaaS enablers. I do get them these resources in time, well in time, so that we don't lose any business opportunities. Mine is not a one-man army. As and when the need arises, I plug in my resources, functional experts who are working as freelancers like me, from finance, design, and creative experts. As and when they're required, they are diligently brought into the system, and again they come operate, sort of help me build the business, and then exit as and when it's required. My client profile essentially comprises of SMEs, sub 50 crores, 50 crores. Now, in fact, more than that as well. Existing brands and the brands in the making, because that's where the business lies. There's a lot of energy, among the entrepreneurs who want to get into the brand arena. I've had exposure even in the consulting environment, working with international brands on the consulting side, and they've been present in India, but essentially operating from abroad. So those exposures and those opportunities have also come my way in the past 10 odd years. Uh, this is a glimpse of my framework. Uh, Currently, I'm working closely with three of my full-time clients. One is a Kashin company, who's pioneer in the footwear distribution business in whole of India, actually. Then there's Viraj Enterprises. I'm going to be talking a little more about it in the later part of the PPT. And there is MV Shoe Care, which is headed by Mr. Ketan Vyas. His brand happens to be Pro, which is a leading shoe care brand. And many of the members would be knowing Mr. Ketan Vyas. He's been a keynote speaker. He's joined us on various occasions. It all started on a small 6 months sort of arrangement, but it is turned sort of full time for me, and it's turned into a long term association. It's been about 2.5 years of a very consistent, a very happy relationship with him. Brand mix comprises of area of top national international brands. Pierre Garden, as you know, is a leading French brand. Xtep is a upcoming Chinese brand. D Cooper is a heritage legacy brand from UK. Coburg is a new private label, which is just building up for this client of mine, Viraj Enterprises. Crocs is an iconic clog brand. Sparks is from the staple of Relaxo. perhaps the biggest Indian homegrown footwear brand. Campus post recent IPO is leading on the sneakers category. Pro is a shoe care from MV. Action again has a heritage of more than 30, 40 years. This is Michelangelo, which is a new Italian brand. We launched men's footwear last year. And just about 10 days back, we launched the ladies' footwear also. And then there is Abros, which is a new upcoming brand. Interestingly, for one of the clients, I handle Abros, which directly competes with Sparks and Campus. But I ensure that while these brands are with different sellers, aggregators, and different clients of mine, but I do work in tandem in such a way that the real potential of each of these brands doesn't take a beating just because I'm handling competing brands. But this thing comes through this different stable. I do maintain a momentum and a synergy, just making sure that it's a happy space for everyone. In terms of channel outreach, during the earlier part of my career, while I was a serving employee, and even when I started my consulting phase, and that's how the market was those days. Essentially, it was offline driven, wherein there was a large, big share of distribution. Retail distributors actually being appointed countrywide or even overseas for that matter, who then turn on to serve the multi-brand outlets or the mom and pop stores. And then for last 20 odd years, there's been emergence of the large format stores and the specialty footwear stores or the chain stores, the likes of Shoppers Stop, Lifestyle. Then there's the factory outlets and direct retail. I must dwell on the importance of the factory outlets. There is a case of today excess supply in the market, and you need certain avenues also for liquidation without disturbing your mainline market. So factory outlets have turned out to be big time for most of the brands because they help them in liquidation. So some of the important partners, you can see the logos: Centro, Reliance Footprints, INC5, Teletos, Regal, Red Tape. I work closely with all of them, former clients, and take a lead in terms of building those relationships. As for e-com space is concerned, which typically sort of kick-started around 2009, and now sort of getting towards a peak. Although the share of e-com in the industry is still about 10 to 12%. Some of the brands like Crocs would have scaled it big time. 30% of the share nearly is coming from e-com, which is quite healthy and quite enthusing for people like me. When I say horizontals in the e-com space, I essentially refer to Amazon, Flipkart, Snapdeal. When it comes to verticals, then these are fashion verticals such as portals such as Tata Click, Agio, and Mantra. Then there is the concept of brand e-stores. So all you have brick and mortar stores set up by most of the brands, marquee brands. Each of these brands and other brands today have an opportunity to also set up the brand stores, virtual brand stores on some of these horizontals and the verticals. In fact, lately, even Mantra has also started a program wherein an equivalent of a brand store or a brand studio can be set up by any of the participating brands. All the brands that I'm sort of dealing with on behalf of the clients, I mean, for the marquee brands, all these brand stores or e-stores have already been established. Helps to increase traction, garner a lot of reviews, ratings, and a wonderful end customer experience also. So this other animal in this e-com space now, other than the B2C, which I spoke earlier, is B2B. There's been emergence of RGO B2B, Odan B2B business. So these are B2B setups which work very closely with the brands or the brand aggregators, such as the clients that I have, just to make sure that whatever gaps are there in the market, wherein the distributors are not able to reach, then these B2B portals help us to scale the market by reaching out to the smaller retailers in tier 2 and tier 3 towns. And that, again, is a huge growth engine in today's time and age. Well, I've also opted for certain affiliates also, and very happy to share all three of them. First and foremost, ENDISA. ENDISA stands for Analyze, Discover, and Order. Members would remember I bringing in the head of ENDISA, Vandana Chaudhary, who's based out of Australia, very good friend of mine. She came in a few months back and she spoke extensively about ENDISA. So ENDISA in Australia has already partnered with 100 plus brands, especially in the fashion space, and that's a B2B platform. Currently, ENDISA Australia is setting up an enterprise program also, wherein all aspects of the business get automated. And she's currently in India, going back on the 22nd. I'll almost ensure that prior to her departure back to Australia, she has two very strong MOUs in her pocket from two leading footwear brands. So it's been happy collaborating with Vandana Chaudhary. The other recent affiliate of mine is Stalumia. Members would again remember I bringing in Mr. Ganesh Subramaniam some 3 months back. He's a champion as far as the retail business goes, e-com and otherwise. Uh, he speaks very passionate about sustainability, avoiding wastages. He and his very enterprising team of product specialists and people, and he's got teams in India and overseas. They work very closely to develop models which help you to forecast for for the fashion industry. Idea being that the fulfillment being high, one should be low on wastages. However, wastages don't leave any carbon footprints. And to that extent, Stelvia is the leading entity in India, which is working very hugely to serve this cause. The third affiliate, which wherein I've tied up lately, is EasyCom. Again, headed by Puneet Gupta, another keynote speaker, which I brought some 3 months back. EasyCom is the emerging of sort of a B2C and D2C enabler, wherein they've set up wonderful, very systematic modules for warehousing management system. Idea being to optimize the same inventory across different selling menus, leading up to both B2B and B2C, and also a lot of enterprise programs also they've developed. EasyCom is already tied up with a lot of leading brands in India over the last couple of years. I'm helping them to get some good industry connects in time. On the periphery, uh, you know, uh, just being engaged in what I've been doing uh, would create certain amount of boredom. And I think for one to remain learning oriented is important also then to look at avenues which are other than regular revenue churning sort of models, I'm very happy spending last couple of years as and when opportunity and time permits to offer, series of guest lectures. I'm more happy with a one-to-one, in the campuses rather than, virtual ones. I'm helping some of these B schools also to set up the curriculums also. Uh, Importantly, I also contribute in some of the editorials also, as and when situation permits, as and when I have some new spark coming in my thoughts, and then try to make them viral. Moderating panel discussions amongst the stakeholders of the industry, just not the front end sales brands, but also the manufacturers, the wholesalers, the components people, all of them put together. Also, gives me a lot of energy, and I do quite a bit of that as and when again situation and the time permits me to do that. Uh, for me to remain relevant, it's important to also nurture aspirations beyond the regular scope of work. Uh, while I was a serving employee, most of my time went in terms of front end, but this consulting arena brought a new facet to this entire, this business spectrum that I look up to. Today, I interact with the manufacturers, the importers, the exporters, the components people. They again have a big role. The distributors, aggregators, brands, portals. And I like to play a humble role there also to create more unification because remember, our trade, photo business has been largely unstructured for the longest time. And in case we can bring in thoughts, ideas, and systems and best practices, I think that's going to give a lot of boost to the industry. Uh, I have aspiration also to grow my horizon beyond footwear to other categories, be it watches, jewelry, and more lifestyle brands, because I think that will sort of help me to remain again, as I said, more relevant, create more energies, and value add to the client essentially. Knowledge seeking is exceedingly important because the more you pick up, the more you disseminate, and the more you share with the clients and the teams. So that's an ongoing process, and I think all of us, as members of reciprocity, anyway, lean on this, so to speak. And there's no way this can be, sort of simplified. It's always a priority. A quick one now about Viraj Enterprises. It's not a case study per se, but a client overview, and I'm sharing this for a reason. So this client has been there with me since April 2014. It was a humble beginning. Client had no understanding, no experience actually, I would say that, of this particular business. And I did sort of dig in this sort of deep thought into client, this prospective client then, to only focus on footwear and focus only on the e-com part of it, the digital part of it, rather than trying to spread the wings everywhere else. Uh, we started with this brand called Sparks, added on Crocs, Skechers, Campus, Coburg. You were only looking at B2C earlier, added B2B spectrum later. The focus also then was not purely on the marketplace typically, but also on generating outlet sales. The advantage of working closely with the the extended arms of all these bigger horizontal portals is that there are opportunities to sell them big bulk. So when you sell them bulk, you get payments in bulk, and that helps you to offset the the payment cycle or any payment pressures. So a significant part of the business then can get, if gets generated by the outlet sales, gets to a lot of momentum. We've been doing that very successfully. We set up a huge facility in Bahadurgarh, which can sort of stock a lakh and 50,000 pairs. We've also set up a new corporate office in NSP. In fact, the new office just got inaugurated just 3 days back. In fact, just to make sure that we are able to optimize the business all ends, and the efficiency remains sky high, and we remain closely pointed both to the brands and to the portals. We utilize these spaces or the fulfillment space, which is given offered by Amazon and the Flipkart, and that helps to the last mile delivery gets expedited. I use that services often as well. We've sort of plugged in WMS systems such as EasyCom. We also have dedicated software, and we focus very heavily on best practices in creating certain marketing avenues to create traction. I work very closely with T&D on the training and development, because employee retention is very, very important. And for that, you don't have to listen to them, you have to engage in deep listening. Otherwise, people, the resources would either like to work for the portals or the brands. So it's very important for me to retain the manpower. In terms of impact, there's a very significant increase in the asset base. Our cash flows are significantly very progressive. Never ever we've been defaulting in the payouts. Our FCT, the fulfillment capacity maximization is on a high. Our top net top line is 80 CR. When I say net means net of returns, because industry returns is about 30%. And that's something that the industry is not able to really look into, but we ensure that we are progressive those ways. We're today the prime aggregator reseller for Crocs, the biggest in India. We're the second biggest for Sparks, after the likes of the buying arm of Flipkart and Amazon. That again, is a very significant sort of achievement. The employee attrition is the lowest, and that really fills my heart, with a lot of glee. Our lead funnel is also sort of very progressive. We have brands coming in and wanting to work with us, and the entire rank and file, the mindset is very futuristic, which again is a sign of progression. These are some of the accolades, rewards, and recognition that have come Virat's way in last couple of years. There have been parallelly recognition also from the brand side also. And this again goes on to help all of us to remain, glued to our objectives and the goals that we set up for them. As far as referrals are concerned, I'll be very happy to introduce you to some of these luminaries and top industry people that I know of. Gautam, Vikas, Dr. JP Sani, Ekta, Sumit. We'll be happy to connect any of you in case if you think there could be any sort of convergence that you are looking up to. I'm very happy to seek your help on referrals also from SMEs, MSMEs in the 75 crore sort of bandwidth. Second, third generation entrepreneurs intending to grow horizontally or vertically with minimal resources. I think I can play a very significant role there. One-to-one consulting, as and when, if that can also come into play, happy to focus those ways also. And for me, I think there's another important area to look up to. I'll be very happy if members were to introduce me to senior leadership and business teams or strategy heads in industry bodies such as FICCI, CIA, and Invest India. I do have some contacts, but more will help for me to remain a bit more progressive. And of course, decision makers engaged in the business of fashion, jewelry, home furnishing, and gifting proposition. So I can increase my bandwidth on the category side and on the client side both actually. And thank you, members. Thank you so much, and thank you, guest. I'm quite enamored with this tagline of Crocs, which says, "Come as you are." Without saying too much, he goes on to say a little too much. Thank you so much.